male 29, Wendy, female 28, been dating for 3 years, living together for 1. We've been serious and exclusive for 2 years, and last week we started discussing marriage, couching it in terms of speaking hypothetically, things like that. For the most part, things seem great. We both want kids, we have compatible career goals, we want to do the same things in life, we have compatible religious views, etc. But last night, I asked my GF if she's comfortable being Mrs. Hanem, and she laughed and said I don't need to worry about that because she's never taking my name. I asked her if she was serious, and she said that changing her last name at all would jeopardize her career, and even if it wouldn't, she wouldn't take my particular last name even in hyphenated form. Then she added that she wouldn't let any kids of ours take my last name either. Now, I have what most people would consider to be a very silly last name, even offensive in certain company, as it prominently includes a very common nickname for an intimacy organ. I got bullied relentlessly for my last name growing up, and even now people tend to do double takes when they hear it. When I first met my GF, she said she had thought my last name was me joking around. But it's my name. I'm my family's only child. And these days, to me, it's a funny joke to laugh about with the guys at work. And my longtime girlfriend told me that she wouldn't let any child of hers have my last name because they get teased and bullied over it. To me, it's just the latest in a long string of incidents since moving in together that makes me think Wendy doesn't respect me. I make a lot more money than she does, so when I see a cute dress or piece of jewelry, I like to buy it and surprise her with it. She liked it when we were just dating, but now she keeps telling me that it's not her style, or she isn't comfortable with me spending so much money on her. She never wears it either. Her social media is filled with her in her work clothes or in jeans and tank tops. Wendy also used to be super flirty before we moved in together, sending me dirty emails and unclothed or almost nude photos on a regular basis and inviting me to do the same. She doesn't do that anymore, and the last time she put on fancy lingerie that wasn't me specifically asking for it was on my birthday a few months ago. I think Wendy doesn't get how important this is to me. I want her to be my wife, not just the woman I live with. And we've been kind of distant with each other since the argument. We only had intimacy once since then, and even that felt like she was just going through the motions because she knew I was aroused. Is there a way I can get her to compromise with me on this? I really want my wife and kids to have my last name, not just be the woman I happen to be married to, who happen to pop out kids who are related to me. Or should I sever now while I'm still young if she's not going to budge? Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, just because you make more money than her and buy her stuff doesn't mean that she has to take your last name. It's not really about respect, IMO. A name is a very important thing to a lot of people. It's her right not to want to take it when you get married. And if it's really that important to you, maybe she's not the right girl for you. Wearing baubles that you buy for her and taking your last name isn't the difference between a woman and a wife. Another commenter added, there are a lot of chauvinistic/misogynistic undertones to your post. You want her to take your last name. You want her to wear lingerie for you. You want to take care of her. I want her to be my wife, not just the woman I live with. I don't think her view of what a wife is lines up with yours, and well, it shouldn't, since it's not 1950 anymore. Now for the 2-week update. Me, male 29, Wendy, female 28, been dating for 3 years, living together for 1. A few weeks ago, I made a thread about a fight I was having with my GF. At the time, I didn't listen to the people calling me a jerk. Instead, I listened to the guys at work who said the cause of my fights and coldness with Wendy was that Wendy was probably cheating on me. Wendy's used my computer a couple of times to check her email and saved her login info. I'd never been tempted to use it to look at her email, but last week I decided that the guys were probably right and snooped on Wendy's email to see if she was cheating on me. This was a shitty thing of me to do, I know that. I found several long email conversations between Wendy and her friends and family. She complained about me and said she was thinking about cheating, but wanted to stay with me until the time came to renew the lease on our apartment, at which point she'd leave. She was afraid I'd do something bad if she just broke up with me. To be honest, I almost shut down the computer then and there to sever with her on the spot. But then I kept reading. Wendy was telling her friends and family that she was legitimately afraid of me, that I was super controlling, and she wasn't sure if I was being hurtful by constantly buying her expensive things, then acting like she owed me something in return. She said it was charming, but a little overwhelming even when we were just dating, but that I changed and drastically escalated when she moved in with me. Wendy, being scared of me, calling me controlling and maybe hurtful? Something about that thought stuck with me when I went into work the next day and listened to how the guys talk about their wives and girlfriends. And I realized something. They don't talk about women like they're people. Every time I've been to a dinner or other event with work, the women everyone brings are either the most inane, shallow, real housewives I've ever met, or look like they want to unalive everyone at the table, followed by themselves. Then I realized that that was how my dad treated my mom too. Constantly bought her super expensive things, and she'd make dinner or put on super nice things for intimacy. Yeah, I found my mom's lingerie drawer when I was a teenager. My dad said he was just buying things to be nice, but it was more like a transaction. And the guys at work do the same thing, and I was doing the same thing. I felt sick to my stomach when I realized all of that. I guess it's guilt or just not wanting to be like my dad. And realizing that the guys at work are jerks. I didn't want Wendy to be scared of me, but I guess I never really thought about how she saw what I was doing. And it's made me realize that I've been a fuck-up and a jerk to women in general, not just Wendy. I don't want one of those vacuous bimbo trophy wives some of the guys at work have, and I don't want to turn someone into that. Even Wendy asked me what's wrong when I started feeling sick every time I've seen her this week. I'm not going to salvage this relationship, I know that. I guess my question is, should I tell her what I've realized and why? Should I tell her I've realized what a jerk I've been, but not tell her why? Or should I just let her leave when the lease comes up for expiration and leave it at that? I hate myself, I really do. But I have to do what's right for Wendy, and maybe look into some kind of counseling if there is such a thing for stuff like this. And I need different, better friends at work. Now for a few important comments. The top commenter, Big Al Chet, said, "Tell her. I would absolutely want to hear this if I were her. I'd be careful how you go about it, though. Little things to think about. Listen to her. Don't interrupt her when she talks. Sit down when having the conversation. Make sure she has plenty of space. Also, I'd not block the door. I really think having this conversation with her would mean a lot to her and could be a good experience for you as well. I commend you for realizing that you haven't been the best version of yourself. Self-deception is a real danger for all of us, but we can always make ourselves better. You got this." Then another commenter, Grumbo87, added, "Congratulations on figuring these things out about yourself. Do everything you can to make this moment of clarity the new normal for you. You should tell Wendy, while making it very clear that you aren't initiating a 'I've realized my mistakes, let's stay together' sort of a situation. Keep the break clean by taking ownership of your actions, openly communicating your intention with this conversation, and getting out of each other's hair as soon as you can. Don't let there be any room for relapses. It takes a lot of consistent hard work to dismantle learned behaviors. You've got this." Am I the idiot for demanding the truth from my husband after his drunken confession? My husband and I have been married for 4 years. I'm 26, he's 30. In the 6 years we've been together, I have never had the suspicion that he was gay, assuming he actually is. The only signs I can really think of is that it took him a while to initiate intimacy. I always thought he was just shy, like he said. I still have to initiate intimacy often because he'll only do it like once a week and sometimes won't even finish himself off. Intimacy is over once I've finished and we barely have any foreplay before. He always said he was under pressure and work takes a toll on him. I never questioned it. I mean, he's a paramedic and I know it's a stressful job. 2 days ago, him and I were invited to a friend's get-together. While there, he drinks a lot with the guys and is completely hammered by the time we need to leave. He doesn't drink much normally either. One of his friends had to even come with me so he can help my husband walk from the car to the apartment. When we get inside, he asks me for more whiskey, so I give it to him since he didn't have work the next day. He drinks quite a bit of it. I'm tired, so I decide to head off to bed. I go to give him a kiss like usual. As soon as I started bringing my face closer to his, he leaned back so far he almost fell off the chair. He had this really confused, disgusted look on his face, and I laughed at first. But then when I went to kiss him on his cheek, he pushed my face away. Then he looked at me really shocked and said, "No, I'm gay." So I backed off and went to bed. I couldn't sleep all night. After 6 years together, why would he say that now? But now that I think of it, I wouldn't be surprised if he was. The next day, we were having breakfast and he was extremely hungover. I start telling him how drunk he was last night, and he just laughs. Then I told him about what he said, and he looked straight up at me, really worried. I must have looked really upset because right after he said, "Everyone says stupid things when they're drunk, forget about it." Then he walked off saying he needs a shower. He's been a little distant ever since. Maybe I'm reading into this too much, I don't know. It's bothering me a lot, and for some reason, I feel very hurt. I'd appreciate some help. Now, for a few important comments. When told to check his web history, OP said, "I never find anything in his history. No corn in general." About a year ago, though, I suggested watching corn together and then having intimacy. 30 seconds hadn't even passed through the video when he said he didn't like it and we should just get straight to it. Ever since then, I didn't bring up corn again. A commenter asked if it was straight corn, and OP confirmed, yes, we watch straight corn. Another commenter suggested if he's gay, he wouldn't enjoy it. Does he watch corn on his own? Do you know what kind? Or does he hide it? It could be that it was the kind of corn that was a turn-off, not corn in general. With straight corn, he wouldn't even have the benefit of having an emotional connection like he does with you to keep him going. OP replied, "I tried looking at his history, but there's nothing there. No gay corn or corn in general. He's not very emotionally connected during intimacy with me either, though. He just wants to get it done, and I always thought it was because he was tired." Another commenter asked if he comes from a very religious background, and OP responded, "Sort of. His parents are pretty religious, and he went to a private Catholic high school, but as far as I can tell, he doesn't seem to be religious." The commenter then suggested, "Very possible that he's gay and repressing it due to the fear of how his family will react. Couples therapy at a minimum." Another commenter shared, "If he is in fact gay, it can be awfully difficult to come to terms with at this stage of his life. Don't kid yourself, he loves you. It does sound like he has been trying to convince himself he is straight or deny he is gay. It does happen, however, it has no reflection on you. You didn't make him straight or gay. He is who he is. Imagine how embarrassing it was for him blurting it out. You two need to talk. I have 2 friends that came out after being married and having fathered children. Does it hurt? Sure. He may not be exactly the man you know and love. Talk, and more importantly, listen," OP replied. "He won't talk to me, though. He's been giving me the silent treatment. I think I might have pushed him too much." Now for the 2-day update. Ever since I confronted him about what he said while drunk, he had been ignoring me and giving me one-word answers all day and today. He's been looking extremely tired, worn out, sad, and stressed. I didn't want to push him to talk to me about it because I thought it would make him explode. But it's been eating at me ever since, and I couldn't control myself, and I burst out crying while he was getting ready for bed. I told him I needed answers because I didn't want our relationship to be like this. He was really hesitant to talk to me and tried leaving it at, "You don't need to cry, it's okay." But then I asked him if he was attracted to me, and he gave me a look of pity without giving an answer. Then I asked him about women in general, and he gave me the same look. It turns out you guys were right. He's gay, said he was meaning to tell me sometime soon. He said he drove himself crazy thinking about it and finding the right way to tell me that it came out while drunk instead. He said when we first started dating, he thought he was bisexual, so he went on with it. Then he slowly came to realize he was gay, but dug himself into a much deeper hole by then. He said he was diagnosed with major depression and was prescribed antidepressants, but he couldn't take them because the side effects interfered with work. He also assured me he's never cheated on me, flirted with other guys, or been to any gay bars or clubs, and said he had no intention to. I do believe him, though, because I know he's not that kind of person, but also because his daily routines are the same. Work, gym, which is in our apartment, and then straight home. He barely uses his phone for any other purpose but calls. It doesn't have a passcode on it either, and he leaves it laying around everywhere. For some odd reason, I don't feel as angry and upset as I thought I would now that I know what's been going on. But I feel like I'm handling this too well and might break down sooner or later. He said the only way he can be fair to me at this point is if we get a divorce. So we agreed on that. He said he'd tell his friends, his family, and my family exactly what happened, so nothing's left in the dark. I guess it all makes sense now. When I first met him, he was a really happy-spirited person, and when I look at him now, it's completely gone. Thanks for the advice. It really helped prepare me for what went down today, and I appreciate it. Now, any tips on moving on would also be of help. Am I the idiot for questioning my boyfriend's sanity after he stole ice cream as a dare from a Discord group? My boyfriend grabbed a stranger's ice cream. Can't believe this actually happened. So we were out walking around this evening. He'd mentioned wanting to get ice cream but hadn't brought money, and neither had I. We usually take a walk after dinner and don't buy stuff during it unless we decide beforehand we want to get something that night. As we're walking past a group of people, he made a sudden movement to the side and then started running in the opposite direction full speed. It was so fast I hadn't seen exactly what he did. People were saying things like, "Holy shoot," and "OMG." One guy said, "He took my ice cream," and that's when I realized what happened. He stole this guy's ice cream on a busy street. I was absolutely shocked and mortified. Everyone around us had seen it or else quickly got told about it. They were staring and pointing down the street where he was still running. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I apologized repeatedly to the man whose ice cream he'd grabbed, then said I was going to go find him and got myself out of there. Utterly humiliating. Well, he'd nearly made it back to the house in that time. I got there a few minutes later and found he had been crouched in the stairway, furiously eating the ice cream out of the cup. He scrambled when he heard me coming, dripping ice cream everywhere. Looked like a deer in headlights. He literally left the cup on the stairs and ran away from me up to our apartment. But I had the key, so he was just standing there when I got there. I, of course, demanded an explanation. He had the balls to deny he'd done anything. He insisted he didn't know what I was talking about. I sort of lost it and started yelling at him. "The cup is down on the stairs. Your hands and mouth are covered in it. A dozen people literally saw you snatch it right out of a guy's hand. What do you mean you don't know?" He then changed his story and said it was just a joke. WTF. He decided to reenact a YouTube prank video. On a random stranger? How is that a prank? After I let us inside, I kept asking what makes him think that's okay to do, and he changed the story again. This time he said he doesn't know why he did it. It was just an urge. I didn't even know what to say, so I told him I needed some time to myself. I'm seriously disturbed. He's got no good reason. This is completely out of character for him. He's always very mild, reserved, and treats people, especially me, very kindly. He's the last person I'd thought would do something like this. What do I do next to figure out what that was about? How can I know he's even being honest? Now for some comments. One commenter said, "If he had had a lapse in judgment and thought it was a funny prank, then I feel he would be laughing when you found him and being all like, 'Dude, did you see the look on their faces? Ha ha ha, want some ice cream?' Instead, the way you wrote it, it sounds like he was furiously eating the ice cream he stole and then ran away from you when he saw you coming. So he wasn't doing it as a joke. The way you wrote it sounds like he was manic, like an animal completely going on instinct. He wanted ice cream that badly that he grabbed someone's ice cream out of their hand, hightailed it home, and started shoveling it down his throat greedily, and then ran away once he saw you coming. That sounds so insane, I don't even know what to say. I think he is probably embarrassed and doesn't want to talk about it. If it was a psychotic episode or something tied to mental illness, I wouldn't expect him to know/realize this. So asking him, did you have a psychotic episode? Do you have a history of mental illness? Isn't going to be very fruitful, and it will just make him more defensive. You have to get to see a professional, but don't be accusatory or make him feel like he's crazy. Then OP replied, yes, the way you described it is exactly how it happened. He wasn't laughing at any point. When he was trying to convince me it was a joke, he sounded more defensive and panicky than amused with himself. If I can't tell him about the possibility of a psychotic episode, then how can I get him to see someone? He won't see any reason to go. Now for the 4-day update. So I finally got the explanation from him yesterday. Turns out, he was in a Discord server chat where the members all dare each other to humiliate themselves by doing outlandish things in public they'd never normally do. He told me he's left the group because the experience was really stressful to him, not exciting like he'd thought when he joined. It was the first time he'd taken one of the dares. He said that afterwards he just didn't know what to say and couldn't believe he'd actually done it. He was extremely apologetic for acting like a lunatic, causing me to worry about him. We had a long talk about it last night. I genuinely believe he regrets it. He knows what a stupid fuck-up it was. Not much else to say, really. Just wanted to come back now that I got the answers. Now for more comments. One commenter said, did you actually see the Discord and the chats? Because that doesn't make sense. Usually with challenges and dares, there's a camera involved, or else, how would the other members know that he did the dare? Your description of events didn't mention either of you having your phones out to record. If there are no videos being posted, and it's all based on the honor system that members did the dare, then either your BF is very naive or something else is wrong. OP replied, he was on his phone during the walk. I didn't mention it in the OP because there was no reason to. Now I know he was recording in a non-obvious way. He never posted the video anywhere, and it's been deleted. He also left the Discord the same night it happened. Another commenter added, this dude is a fool. The story is so pathetic it's probably true, but why exactly did he lie to you? What adult gets involved with shoot like that? What's the next fool thing he is going to try in his quest for excitement? And another said, he's 29 years old and he needed to do this because of a dare, and then he gaslighted you? Do yourself a favor and lose this guy.